So I'm turning 45 in a couple of weeks, and I realize there are a lot of things that I have been doing that have been harmful for me. And some of it might actually hurt to quit, but I think it's actually going to be beneficial. And I wonder if you do some of these things too. The first thing that I have decided is that I am no longer going to say yes to things that I do not want to do. And that can be things that don't align with sort of my beliefs, although that doesn't usually happen. But more so, I think it's just like sometimes we get invited to things and we're like, how many times have you said to your spouse, like, I don't want to go? Or they're like, I don't want to go. And you're like, you think I want to go? Like, I don't want to go. So I think that, like, yes, there are times where, of course, we're going to attend certain things out of obligation. But I think so often we do that when we don't need to. Now, straddling the line of that versus being like totally introverted where we're not going to be satisfied that we went to things. But I've been to things. One time I went to somebody's birthday party and I was like, I don't want to go. I don't hardly know anybody. And I completely regretted it. And I really just went feeling bad that, like I was like some like bad person or something for saying no. So now I am embracing the theory of JOMO, the joy of missing out. You may have heard of FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. JOMO is the best thing because it's like the joy. I get to stay home. I can watch Dancing Bacons on YouTube, or I can watch some Jane Austen, snuggle my cats, drink some tea. That, for me, is something I would much rather do at this stage of my life. The next one might come as no surprise to you, and that is that I am no longer going to hold on to unnecessary items that are no longer serving me. Of course, I started this a while ago, and I bet a lot of you are working on that too. But I realized that even still, I will go through my house and be like, oh my gosh, like, why do I have that? This right behind me here, that entertainment unit is quickly going to be, once I replace it, I tell you, almost everything on there is gone. Truly, the only reason a lot of it is there still is just because I need to get rid of this thing, and sitting empty, like, it's sparse enough. But getting rid of stuff feels amazing. No more. I quit keeping things that aren't serving me. Here's a big one. Just like Crumpet, I quit holding onto grudges with people. Now, when I was younger, I remember like being a teenager and being like, like, I don't like this person. I hate them, blah, 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 blah. And I see that in my own kids sometimes when they're talking with their friends where they don't like them for random reasons. It makes no sense. However, I didn't realize this, but as an adult, I have done this too. And it doesn't mean like that I'm like a harsh grudge holder or anything. In fact, I would say I'm not really. I think that sometimes we can give somebody a second chance. And I don't believe in keeping toxic people in our lives. And the thing is, as an adult, I realized I actually had been holding on to a couple of grudges too. And not in the like immature way, but just thinking about things, or when I would think about somebody, like a song would come on, like Unhappy Birthday by the Smiths. And I remember being like, I hope you have an unhappy birthday, Mr. So-and-so. And then I realized like that is not healthy. So I think that truly the best thing is just to sort of be like, I release any sort of like ill will towards you. That doesn't mean we're keeping toxic people in our lives, because getting rid of toxic people is the next thing on my list, because toxic people can be hard. And we already talked about the joy of missing out and keeping toxic people in your life. Those are people who they make you feel bad about yourself. They make you feel like they only contact you when they need something, or they use you, or I've had a lot of people like that in my life, and I don't want people like that in my life anymore. So I quit toxic people. But that doesn't mean I'm going to hold a grudge against them, because when we hold a grudge, I truly do believe we are harming ourselves more. And it really is just like that old saying of, what is it? Like holding a grudge is like taking poison and hoping somebody else dies. It really is affecting us. That is something that I want to do in life. I don't want to take poison. I don't want to die. And in fact, like I wish all of the people in life who have hurt me well. And I'm sure you have had a lot of people who have hurt you in your life. And I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just saying for me at this stage of my life, it feels so good to just be like, I am letting these people go. The next thing I am quitting is watching the news. Now, I know that there are times where it feels like the news can be useful. It takes me back to when September 11th happened. That was a really traumatic time for a lot of us. Even though I'm Canadian, it was a big deal, obviously. I think like for the whole world, but as a North American, it was really scary. Of course, I remember where I was. Everybody remembers where they were. So yes, like consuming news during times like that is useful. But I think that if you need to know something, the people in your life are going to make sure that you know. So for me, and I also just think that news has changed over the years. Like it just, of course, there's always been biases, and I'm not at all going to get into media politics and all of that. But just to say that consuming the news on a regular basis, I think is just so harmful for us because truly, I actually follow this really great Instagram page called the Good News Movement. And I will like watch several clips a day and it will just make me well up with tears because it's the great things in life. It's the good people in life. It's the things that just leave you being like, yes, like I just am so happy for that. In fact, if you follow my Instagram, which I do not post actual like anything other than like memes, I almost always will just share great funny things because or things that are heartwarming because I don't want to be a part of that negativity. Like I am a person where I have a lot of beliefs, political and beyond. But I don't think that people come and watch my YouTube channel for that stuff. And I also don't think that it's good to be consuming all of this stuff every day. It feels completely unnecessary, completely unnatural because I don't think that's how we were meant to be. The next thing that I am quitting is I am going to stop multitasking whenever possible. Now, when I'm cooking in my kitchen, maybe what would be better instead of like cleaning and also trying to do laundry and also trying to do all of these things, what if I'm only cooking? I feel like so often in life, we are not being sort of like mindful of the task that we're doing at that moment. And then we complain that life goes by fast. And of course it does. And the older you get, the faster it goes. Like there's reasons for that. And it's legit, right? Like here I am, it's summertime, my kids are off, and I'm sure for them, they're like, this summer is going to take so long. Meanwhile, all of us adults are like, no, it's going to fly by. Your childhood is almost over. I'm like going to be a grandma soon. Like, no. So I think that multitasking just makes life crazier. It just adds to that. It's like the busier you are, the faster time goes. And maybe if you hate cooking, I'm just using this as an example, you want to like get it out of the way. But I feel like just being mindful of the task we're doing, maybe we will even like it more. So for me, I'm going to try to do a little bit less multitasking. I will probably still be listening to a podcast or an ebook, but to me, that just makes it that much more enjoyable. I actually look for things to do more when am listening to something like that. I enjoy it. It makes me enjoy so many of the mundane things more. Ooh, it is hot in this greenhouse. Here's another thing that I am going to quit. And that is taking on other people's problems. Taking on other people's problems is something that I have been so bad at my whole life. And I know a lot of people will say like, oh, don't say it's bad. Let me just prop open this door. But it kind of is because I remember once I had a friend and she had a problem and I was trying desperately to help her with it. And I was like, okay, what can we do? How can we fix this problem? And she even said to me, you can't care more about somebody else's problem than they do. And I feel like in life, that is such good advice because a lot of us, we're helpers, we're fixers, and we want to do things, and we want to help people. But first of all, like it's not our place to do that. In a lot of times, people need to learn lessons. They need to go walk through something to learn the lesson and to grow as a person. And for me, it's not fair for me to take that from. And why do I think I know how they should do it? I'm not perfect. Why would I think that? So I'm going to not take on other people's problems. And in fact, I have actually started this already for the past few years. And it has been so good to just be like, okay, like I'm even like with my husband and my kids, I'll be like, okay, like that's that they can be responsible for that. And it feels so good. It feels so good. Here's another big one. I am going to stop dwelling in the past. Now, it's not that I do that all the time, but there are moments in life where I just am not, like I talked about before, like being mindful while doing chores and stuff, like being present with what is happening in life is so important. And I really, there are just times where I feel like, yes, like I always talk about music, right? This is going to sound so silly, but I'll be like, I only listen to the band Tool in summer or New Order in late summer, and I listen to The Cure in the fall. I know it sounds crazy, but part of the reason for that is nostalgia. And I think truly nostalgia was probably some design that keeps us like, it's like birds migrating, right? Like we're drawn to do something. I'm drawn to recreate the past. And I'm not saying it's wrong for me to do that. But what I'm saying is, if I am always trying to recreate the past, am I living in the present? So yeah, maybe I should be a little more flexible, a little more open to things being a little bit different. So that's another thing that I need to quit doing is living in the past. Here's a big one, and that is to stop neglecting my health. This one I think is so relatable for so many women. And I actually got better about this. I would say probably about 6 years ago is when I started exercising. And that has been huge. And let me know in the comments if you feel like you've neglected your health. And when I say like, yes, I was, I start exercising, but there are a lot of things to do with health beyond exercise, of course, like nutrition and sleep and saying no to things. Like basically everything I'm talking about in this video, these are things that will be helpful for my health and for your health if you decide to do them too. And so, yes, like for me, like I am turning 45 and my goal is to be in my 90s and like playing in my garden. I love my garden. It just makes me so happy in there. And really, like even when I have patients who are seniors that are really healthy and fit, I'm like, you are my hero. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, well, like it's too late for me. It's not. There are a lot of people who no matter where you are in life, maybe you can make small changes. I saw like this lady who was like 92 who was doing exercises with her walker. I saw another lady who's 92. She's super fit. Like she's like lifting weights. So if at all possible, if, it's God's will and the stars line and everything, then yes, I will be fit in my seniorhood. But part of that starts now because let me know, can you relate to this where you put everybody else first? And I know it truly is like an old thing where people just assume that that's what happens, but it does happen. And it's only now where I am in life, the ages of my kids, where I really, really can prioritize myself. And I think that sometimes that's the situation. I was talking with my friend the other day. She has little kids and she was saying, it's a really hard, challenging time. And I said, yes, it is. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it isn't. Like for her, that is hard. Like when your kids are little, they are so cute. They're so snuggly. It's so wonderful, but it is a hard time. And I don't think I would love to take a vacation back there for a day, but I'm really glad where I am right now. I'm glad my kids are teenagers. I'm glad that I can, ask them for help. I'm glad that I can look up to every single one of them because I am way shorter than them now. I like that stage of life and I like that there's time for me to take care of myself. And I almost wonder if that's like part of perimenopause design where you care less, you're tired or like there's all of these things where it's like you're forced. I put my ring on. I took it off to clean. Where is it? Anyway, you're forced to either feel terrible or start making some changes. So that's my goal is to really focus on that. I thought I found my rings. I found my rings. Black on my hands. Here's the next thing that I'm going to stop doing, and that is procrastinating. And I am so bad at procrastinating. But Procrastinating is not good for us. And it's funny because in some areas of my life, I'm really good at not procrastinating. I used to do the cold plunging and I stopped doing it because I had to drive across town to get to the ocean, which was nice. It was actually quite enjoyable. And I know a lot of people were talking about it for a while and I haven't done a video on it, but a lot of people, they gingerly walk in. And that's how I used to get into lakes and stuff as a kid. But now what I do is I full on run in because I'm like, let's get this over with. And I want to adopt that in my life more. I want to get better at just like doing the thing. And one of the things I've done recently with my family, with my kids in particular, is because sometimes they just would not do things. Like one of my kids right now has a little penalty, as we call it, because he did not fold his laundry last night when I asked him to, because I was just like, this has to stop. Like I don't want to keep repeating myself. So anyway, I am no better when I am procrastinating getting things done, because sometimes it's so funny. Like the easiest things are so easy. And I just take too long to get started. And then I'll be like, what's the problem? So I can just put my AirPods in, which we've already established, make me enjoy things much more. And I'm just going to do it. And I do love my planner. A lot of you have heard me mention, and I've talked about it before, where I will schedule things in. And scheduling in an anti-procrastination day, which I know is a fly lady thing, is so handy, because so often we just do these things or we put off doing things because we're just like, like I don't want to do it. Having an anti-procrastination day is such a great way of getting that done. Here's another big one. Now that I am turning 45, we left this a little late, is I am going to stop ignoring financial planning. And I mean, we have had some, but we haven't been great. And I really want to encourage my kids to do this. And my parents, they certainly encouraged us, but I now spend Fridays, or finance Fridays, where I spend a little bit of time focusing on the money. And it was painful at first. I did not like what I saw. I started using the You Need a Budget app, also called Wine app. And this is not sponsored, but it is a great tool. It does cost like $120 or something like that a year, Canadian, but it is so worth it. Like I am sure I save so much, not to mention that it's a service. Like it makes it so much easier for me. So I go through that on Fridays and the first of the month, just really looking at our finances. And that has made a big difference. But I want to get even more intentional about that. So you guys keep me accountable, please. Another thing I want to stop doing is avoiding challenges. I feel like in my life so often I just avoided challenges. There are a lot of circumstances where I definitely, before I had my first kid, once I had my first kid and I had these challenges breastfeeding, I remember being like, I'm going to make this happen. And that I'm not telling anybody, however they feed their kid. This was just like my own personal goal, I guess. And I learned, oh, I can actually do hard things, because I feel like I quit everything when it got hard when I was a kid. I started tap dancing. I think I did that maybe for a year. Then I quit. I started violin. I never explained to my family that like I needed like one of those chin rest things and that it hurt my clavicle. I never explained that to my family. I just quit, right? Like I want to do challenging things and also communicate with people better too. Like obviously like those examples. But like I wanna do hard things. I want to, I don't know, like we have kayaks. I want to get out and maybe like kayak in the ocean or do some other fun, crazy, kooky things. What are some fun things you would like to do that are challenging? Because when we do things that are challenging, we grow as people. I already talked about that a little bit earlier, but I am now entering like the latter half of my life, and I want to use this as just an opportunity to just love life, enjoy life so much, and to grow. No matter what stage of life you're at, we can always grow, right? Another thing that I am definitely going to quit is micromanaging people. And I have been so bad at this for so long. We already talked about like not caring more than another person cares. But I think that, just yesterday, actually, one of my kids, I said, like, you finished off the kombucha, you need to rinse it and put it in the cupboard. And he was like, isn't it easier if you just do it? Like, instead of like calling me over, like, it's really like, it takes you the effort to call me. And I was like, yeah. It would be, but then you wouldn't learn and you wouldn't grow. And it also is not good for me to keep doing that. because you need to learn. Like, he needs to remember to do that. And we already talked about like the penalty about like not listening right away. It's not my problem anymore. I'm like, sorry, you know the case. This is just the way it is. And in so many areas of life, like even like in my nursing job or with other people in my life, it's like releasing the responsibility for everything is so good. And actually, like when we talked about decluttering earlier, I truly feel like a lot of us, and we talked about this in our small group coaching, that a lot of us, we want to be that person that's ready, that can help, that can be prepared to do all the things. And I don't think that's always a worthwhile thing. Like if we are ready to do something, great. If we are prepared to do something, wonderful. But that should not be our identity. And what that comes from, obviously, we have to look back into the past for that. But that is definitely a huge area to work on, is stop micromanaging other people. And I definitely, that's a work in progress for sure. And it's funny because I was very unhappy in my home for a long time. And I realized that I needed to make some big changes. So check out this video here. It has made it, my life has improved so much, and that is just another big area. Wow. I hope you stay tidy and mighty. I hope something great happens for you today, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.